Debbie Georgatos is with us here on News Radio 1370. Which stage of grief are you in today?
You know, I had become fearful that Donald Trump was going to end up winning it maybe a couple weeks ago. So I don't know which stages I would describe it as, but I am in the mode right now. It's just you have to be up for the fight. Ultimately, you have to be up for the fight about standing up for your principles and what America stands for, and you're not voting for the person or really the party. You're just trying to hang on to your principles, and you're never going to find those principles expressed in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, well, I also don't know exactly what Donald Trump's principles are because they have changed so frequently.
I know, and that is a very alarming thing. I completely agree, Scott. I think that the reason many conservatives, really substantive conservatives, are so concerned about Donald Trump, I don't have any sense of his internal moral compass. I don't know what he really believes in. I can list a bunch of issues. I'm not sure where he stands. And for serious people who have been activists and involved in politics, they want to hear, what is it you're going to do? But I have to tell you, if he doesn't give us one clue up until November, at the end of the day, you're deciding, are you going to vote to perpetuate Barack Obama's policies and Hillary Clinton, or are you going to take the unknown in Donald Trump?
Now, Debbie, were you a Cruz supporter here at the end?
And from the day one. Yes.
From day one. See, I kind of gravitated towards Cruz because I disagree with him on a lot of things, but I did agree with his constitutional values, which is perhaps the most important part in voting for somebody. To me, I don't necessarily agree with the far right wing aspect of the Republican Party on a lot of social issues, but I would trust that Ted Cruz would follow the Constitution. I did vote for John Kasich in the Ohio primary, but my options even then were limited. Really had not been satisfied with a candidate since Scott Walker dropped out at the very beginning. He was probably my number one pick. So I've been wrestling with who the hell to support almost since last August.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you mentioned the constitutional thing. I think that's one of the main things that drew attention to Senator Cruz in the beginning, because to me, the Constitution, this is my lawyer background coming out, but the Constitution is kind of like the structural support for a bridge. The bridge will collapse without it, and if you don't have the Constitution limiting tyranny, limiting the executive branch, if you don't have rule of law, everything else about society can collapse around you. And so, to me, somebody recognizing that this is part of what the big problem has been under President Obama, he has acted like a king or a tyrant, issuing executive orders. He's had a mostly complacent Congress, a GOP majority in the last couple of years, Senate and the House, who won't stand up to him. This is what I wanted to see. I want to see someone come back and say, this constitutional thing isn't just school book theory. It goes to the structure and security and stability of America. That's what I loved about Senator Cruz.
Now, Debbie, do you believe as of today, and of course things can change, it's a long way to November, as of today, do you think Donald Trump can beat Hillary Clinton?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why I say that. I think that, I'm sure your listeners have heard you mention this too in this primary cycle, but Democrat turnout across the board has been down in various states. It ranges from 13 to 20%. I don't think the Democrat voting base is excited about Hillary or Bernie, whichever one gets it. And on the Republican side, the turnout has been up. And I think that turnout is up both because people are deeply upset with President Obama and the direction of the country, and they're upset with the GOP in Washington that continually capitulates to the president. So there's a real grassroots energy, and I don't think that grassroots energy is going to go away, even for people who said, you know, somebody else besides Donald Trump is the one I just loved and wanted to have as the candidate. I think at the end of the day, Donald Trump, a lot of what he says is kind of pro-Americanism. I'm not a supporter of his, but this pro-Americanism, this make America great again, this is going to resonate with people.
Well, we're talking with Debbie Georgatos. LadiesCanWeTalk.org is her website. Here's the problem I have with Donald Trump being able to win, and I kind of laid this out yesterday because I'm kind of a numbers wonk. I love statistics and polling and research data. So I kind of went back and looked at the Electoral College for the last 20 years, which is what everybody really forgets about. It doesn't matter what the general election polling numbers show. Right now, Hillary is leading Donald by 15 percentage points nationwide, but it's really irrelevant. What it boils down to is what states can each candidate carry. And since 1992, the Democrats have carried 19 states in the District of Columbia in the last 20 years in the last 6 elections. That's 242 electoral votes. The Republicans only have a 13-state history over the last 20 years, but that's only 102 electoral votes. So right from day one, immediately, Hillary is in a 140 electoral vote lead. All she needs to do with those 242 electoral votes is win Florida, and it's game over. All she needs to do is take Florida, and that's the ball game. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump takes 30 states. If Hillary wins 19 D.C. and Florida, it's over. She gets 270.
Yeah, and this electoral college subject, I've had an expert in my radio show talking about this too. I mean, I'm glad it's there because it serves a great purpose to make sure candidates have to talk to everyone around the country and not just focus in the big population areas. Having said that, it's before the election even gets started, before the primary gets started, before the first candidate announces the GOP is behind the 8 ball with respect to electoral college, which is at the end of the day, the whole thing. However, I will say this. I think that Hillary is profoundly unpopular. I think, where everyone's always looking at the swing states and whichever way they've gone in recent years, I think that the energy behind the Donald Trump campaign, which troubles me, at the same time it makes me feel a little better about GOP winning, I think it's going to help him in some of those swing states. I don't, the primary turnout being so bad for Hillary, and I think when Donald Trump is finished treating her the way he treated the other GOP candidates in the primary, she's going to be badly damaged. In fact, I don't know.
She's already pretty badly damaged, but at some point I want the attacks to go a little bit deeper and have Donald Trump actually take a stance on some issues that he can actually follow.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more. There's just so much need for Donald Trump to step forward and really sound like, yes, I'm on top of this. I can handle this job. I actually have a policy. I do understand this issue. Because you feel like he's just going in he's just kind of a figurehead, and he'll get there, and somebody else will really be running the country on all sorts of issues because he doesn't really understand what the issues are.
Now, Debbie, if you had a pick today, who would you like to see Donald Trump select as his vice presidential running mate?
Okay, I'll say 2-part question answer. I think he should pick somebody like Senator Jeff Sessions, if he would take it. Some actually, somewhat accomplished, somewhat an experienced person, but I think he will pick John Kasich because of Ohio being a swing state. And I think he's all strategy about winning at this point.
Well, there are rumors that Kasich stayed in until after Cruz dropped out, simply to siphon votes away from Ted Cruz as part of some backdoor deal that he may have had to become the vice president. Now we'll see if that plays out. If that conspiracy is true, you heard it here first. However, I've got a much better idea than Jeff Sessions, who I like from Alabama. I think Jeff Sessions would be great, but he doesn't bring anything to the table other than foreign policy and experience with immigration policies. You could look at Cruz, not going to happen. Rubio doesn't need to happen because Trump beat him in Florida. Chris Christie doesn't make sense from an electoral standpoint, although Chris Christie probably going to be our next attorney general if Donald Trump wins. Yeah. Ben Carson, again, another outsider with absolutely no experience, so not a smart strategic move. I think somebody like Scott Walker, who has campaign experience, tough campaign experience against Democrats, would be good. But the best option, and really a 2-part idea here, the best option, in my opinion, is Governor Nikki Haley from South Carolina. She's from the South. She's conservative. She's a woman. She's attractive. She's younger than Donald Trump. She brings a lot of things to the table.
I love the Nikki Haley choice. I think she'd be fabulous. I've actually heard people talk about Newt Gingrich, too, which is an interesting thing because Newt Gingrich has managed to stay neutral in this, and he would bring that seriousness. I mean, I think to get the GOP voting base comfortable, the American people comfortable, he's got to have substance. I love the Nikki Haley idea. I like Governor Walker, too. I don't know. I think Nikki Haley, I can just almost see the contrast better. As you say, she's young and she looks young and she's very strong in the way she's handled her state and the way she speaks.
Yeah, you put her out there, and you spent a lot of time in eastern Ohio and Pennsylvania, West Carolina, playing the clip of Hillary Clinton talking about putting coal miners out of business. That might move the needle in the states that Donald Trump needs to change the game in, like Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, Minnesota and New York. He's got to change the game in those 5 electoral states to have a chance at all. The other pick that I was considering is Condoleezza Rice.
I've heard people float her name, and I don't know her personally, but I would be really surprised if she would take that.
Yeah.
I don't know that she would.
I don't think she wants to work for Donald Trump.
Exactly. She doesn't want to have a stellar career. Condoleezza Rice, a stellar service to the country, and have the people's last memory of her be, in her political life, be as a VP of someone who's just, as Hillary Clinton is saying today, loose cannon, who knows what he'll do. I think the loose cannon thing, by the way, might be a little bit of a positive in some people's minds, thinking that he will make people like Vladimir Putin think, I don't know what that guy is going to do. Maybe they'll see that as a plus.
Yeah, I think loose cannon is the wrong term for her to use in attacks. There are other terms that she could probably come up with at some point. Besides, I don't think Condoleezza Rice wants to go campaigning right at the start of football season.
Yeah.
I mean, she's big in college football. I think she's on the college football playoff committee.
She is. I will tell you, she's at Stanford, and our daughter, who got her MBA at Stanford, had a class with her. Who I will just tell your listeners, our daughter said she's the nicest, most approachable, lovely. Our daughter was just so impressed with her. I mean, smart as all get out too. She's pretty great.
Check out Debbie Georgatos at ladiescanwetalk.org. Debbie, always love having you on the show.
Scott, thanks for having me. Have a great day.